Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. Today, we're discussing a model that launched in 2012, the successor to the landmark 5004. It improves on the original in every way. This is the Patek Philippe 5204P-011. The original 5204 arrived in 2012, platinum with a silver dial. In 2014, we got the watch you see right here, which is platinum with a black dial, and this would be my preference. Taking a quick look at its dimensions, it's bigger than the 5004, but it's not big. 40 millimeters in diameter, 14.5 millimeters thick. From lug tip to lug tip, 46.8 millimeters with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We can throw it on my wrist. My wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference, and it wears beautifully. Comfortable, short across the wrist, relatively flat. It's not a thin watch, but nor is it obnoxiously thick. It'll fit underneath even dress shirt cuffs. And a big part of that compatibility is the actual slope of the case rather than the thinness. Since it's not thin, it needs a shape that's easy to surmount by a cuff, and it's got that. You can see from over the top that the lugs are nowhere near the edge of my wrist, and you can see that well also from down the barrel. Now, the strap is high grade. It is a medium rectangular scale alligator leather, a cut you don't see too often, but it's a semi-gloss black. It's got a sheer cut edge, a monotone stitch, as you can see on the bottom. Patek Philippe factory strap in excellent condition. We have pull tab spring bars, so you can quickly and easily remove the strap from the watch without tools. There is a matching platinum single fold deployant clasp with the Calatrava cross logo. It is a friction snap fit. You can hear it snap right there. Rolling around to the case, the watch features a top Vesselton diamond between the lugs. That is your signature in the modern era of a platinum Patek Philippe. Now, Patek has built an impressive case here. Since its 1975 acquisition of Atelier Réuni, Patek has improved the quality of its case making, largely by complicating the assembly. And you can see here, this isn't stamped or machined. This case and these lugs were created separately. The lugs were inserted into slots in the case flank. They were then welded together with heat, and all evidence of the gathered material from the weld was removed to create this aesthetically pleasing sharp break between lug and case. So everything about this watch, even the case, is intricately handcrafted. We've got a little bit of a shoulder fluting on the lugs to break up their visual mass. For the same reason, we have this rounded case flank with a stepped back case back, so it looks thinner when it's on the wrist. We have a little bit of an upward step to the bezel and then a concave profile, again, to visually thin it out. Vintage-inspired pump pushers. You can see here we have a coaxial split-second chronograph trigger. This is a split-second perpetual calendar chronograph, and we will be going through all of those features, but you can see the most obvious is this ability to split your seconds. So if there are two race cars zipping around a track, or maybe two runners around a track, and you want to know whether the gap between them is waxing or waning, this allows you to time those two concurrent events and also keep track of the splits. Now, what else do we have? Lots. Black matte dial, beautifully balanced. Patek hit this one out of the park. They used day and month discs that were black. The only potential oversight is the fact that the leap year phase indicator is still a black on white disc, but at the very least, you won't forget where it is. We have white gold hands, white gold applique indices, and surprisingly for a watch that is only sporty in passing, it has plenty of luminescence, and it's actually quite easy to read in the dark. Now, it's also a perpetual calendar, which means that we have the ability to surmount irregular length months and leap years without requiring resetting. We have our day-night indicator between 7 and 8. When it's blue, that means it's night. So, for example, right here, we're approaching a 1:45 in the morning because it's blue. That's the time when you don't want to attempt to set the watch using the pusher correctors. If at this point in the day you must set the watch, what you want to do is you want to make sure you just turn past that danger zone. And you can see right at about 6:30, now We're on our way to daytime. 6:30, you're safe to set. Really, anytime after 4 a.m., you're safe to set the calendars using the pusher corrector. I always like to turn until I see that little indicator full white representing daytime. Now, the watch will not require a calendar correction until the year 2100, although the moon phase has even more endurance than that, as it won't require correction until 122 years after the moon phase indicator is set. We have instantaneous jumping chronograph minutes. On the reverse side, we have a movement here, the 29535, and it is capable of compelling second guesses for those who've declared that Lange owns the mainstream high luxury movement finish space. This is really quite something. As you could see, an immense amount of complexity. We have not one but two column wheels. You can see one of them in action for the split-second mechanism. You could see that the split-second mechanism will grasp and hold and then release that secondary seconds hand. And as with Lange, there is a decoupler mechanism used so the watch doesn't, quote, drag and slow down when the split-second system is engaged. The decoupler engages and prevents that dragging and avoids the loss of time or slower running. So this is the 29535 PSQ, Petite Seconde for small seconds, Q, of course, because it is a perpetual calendar. One of the column wheels, which you can see obviously right here, is capped with a black polished cap. You can see we have a lateral clutch. This is a column wheel lateral clutch system. Both column wheels are super crisp, and crisp as fries right out of the fryer. And the feel and the sound is the stuff of dreams, and yes, it is easily the equal of the Dotograph. You can see there's a little pawl and a pawl wheel. That's the minute jumper right there for the instantaneous jumping minutes. It is adjusted in 6 positions. It beats away at 4 hertz. It does have stop seconds. It features a free-sprung Gyromax-style balance with a handmade metal overcoil. The more premium Patek watches will always feature a metal overcoil rather than a silicone hairspring for artisanal reasons, and because the metal hairspring has to be shaped by hand, which takes skill. Likewise, the lateral clutch chronographs, though more traditional at Patek, they are only handled by more advanced watchmakers because they require more skill to properly tune. So there's a lot going on back here. Manual wind with a 65-hour power reserve, and the finish is world-class. You can also see that the movement depth is world-class. We have brass, we have steel, we have sapphires. We have all of it going all at once with satination and beveling on the steel chronograph parts, and then Côte de Genève and beveling on all of the brass components, for example, the brass bridges. Engine turning on the base plate, beveling on steel and brass, world-class in both cases. And you'll find there's no shortage of things like sharp exterior points where bevels meet. You can see them in particular on the steel chronograph clutch where they show to good effect, and you will be deeply impressed by the quality of attention to detail and the flawless execution. All of this in a watch that's 30 meters water resistant. So, okay, it's not an aquatic sports watch, but it's definitely sporty as dress watches go. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.